G'day, that's Slot Car Guy here and welcome back to the slot car video, and today we're going to test if changing the motor on your track layer makes a difference, and I'm going to use SRC's Lancia Delta S4 and their range of motors. I'm going to use three motors. It's going to be the M3, the M6 and the M7, so stick around and see which motor is best for my track and does it make a difference if you change motors in your slot car. So welcome back to the slot car video, and yes, I will be testing three motors today on my track layer to see if a high RPM is better than a lower RPM motor for my layout. Of course, everyone's layout is different, but I do have this massive Carrera slot car track in my garage. And of course, I'm using SRC's beautiful Lancia Delta S4, which I have done a full review on, so check the descriptions below. I will link that video in. And I am using SRC's range of motors in this car, including the same pinion and gear, which will be a 9 and 22 tooth. So the motors that we are going to use is, first up will be the M3, which is a 17,000 RPM motor. Then straight after that, we'll jump into 3 hot laps with the M6, which is a 20,000 RPM motor. And then we're going to move on to what's already fitted to the car is an M7, which is a 21,000 RPM motor. Now, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, I did put a picture up yesterday or the day before of this upcoming video, so please check that out, and I'll put a nice little photo up of that. But I think this will be interesting. So I have done a pinion change before. Now we're doing a motor change to see what changes or what's better for my track. So let's get stuck into it. First up is the M3. I'm doing 3 laps for each of the motors and see what I prefer as a motor for my track and what is quicker. So let's go. The M3, 17,000 RPMs. Let's see how fast I can get that around my track.
At 13.28 seconds.
So the M3 is done and dusted. Let's move on to the M6, which is the 20,000 RPM. Of course, same gearing, clean the tires, another 3 laps. So let's see how quick I can get the M6 around my track.
At 12.53 seconds.
Rightio, lucky last, the M7, 21,000 RPM. I am guessing this is going to be the fastest, but is it going to be the best for me to drive around my track? So let's get into it. The M7, 3 laps. Let's see how fast I can get the M7 around my track. So there we have it. I've completed 3 laps with the M3, the M6 and the M7, and the scores are in. So how fast was the M3? Well, the quickest I could get was a 12:46, which was a very easy car to drive, and I think that's quite a good time. But it was a very, very easy car to drive. You could really use the throttle through the corners because, of course, the torque wasn't there. Moving on to the M6, we went to an 11.73, so we have bumped up a little bit, and I found that a bit more drivable. I did have to back off going into corners, but it was a very easy motor to drive around my track, and of course plenty of speed. Moving on to the M7, I did an 11:29, which for me was almost the perfect motor. Yes, it was faster, but I could carry the speed through the corners without backing off too much because I knew I was going in with a lot more torque, and it felt a lot easier for me to drive that lap. So there you have it, 3 motors. Of course, I'm not surprised that the higher RPM motor was the quickest, but it's just great to see what a big difference it does, keeping the same gearing. But of course, if you haven't seen the Lancia Delta S4 by SRC teardown by me, I will link that video in the descriptions. But I've got to give a massive shout out to CLEAVE Tech. Now, if you like this kind of stuff, the technical side, and this is very basic, please check him out. He's just put up a video of his build of a Revo slot that he's running in the Pendle slot racing over in the UK. This guy knows his stuff, so I'm going to link his video in my descriptions. Check him out, give him a follow. He absolutely knows his stuff, and he is a good bloke, and maybe we might do something in the future together. But as always, at That Slot Car Guy on Instagram and YouTube. Is there anything else you'd like to see? Did you enjoy this kind of video? If you do, please hit the comments, like, subscribe. I do appreciate the support. But as always, take care, be safe, ciao.